You have likely read the Gospels many times. You know the story of Simon Peter, the bold fisherman, the first to declare Jesus as the Christ, and the one who so famously faltered in a moment of pressure. We see the journey of Peter and his companion John, and we often think we know how Peter's personal story concludes within that narrative. We see his denial, and we see his brief reunion with the risen Christ. But the true, definitive, and most emotionally powerful chapter of Peter's restoration is often treated as a mere epilogue, an appendix to the main event. It is not an appendix. It is the entire point. The 21st chapter of the Gospel of John is not just an extra story. It is the final, masterful brushstroke that changes the entire portrait of Simon Peter. It is a chapter that confronts failure not with condemnation, but with a quiet, deliberate, and stunningly personal restoration. It is here, on a misty shoreline, that the broken leader is remade. And what happens in this chapter offers a profound, life-altering blueprint for anyone who has ever felt disqualified by their past, haunted by a moment of weakness, or uncertain of their future. We are going to walk through this chapter, moment by moment, and uncover the layers of meaning that are so often missed. We will see how a simple fishing trip becomes a reenactment of Peter's initial calling, how a charcoal fire becomes a stage for redemption, and how a seemingly repetitive conversation becomes the most important job interview in history. This is the story of how a failure was transformed into a foundation. This is the ending that changes everything. To truly understand the weight of John chapter 21, we must first place ourselves in the crushing silence that precedes it. Imagine the emotional landscape for the disciples. The central figure of their lives, the man they had left everything to follow, had completed his mission. They had witnessed events that defied all human logic and expectation. They had seen him, spoken with him, after he had returned from the grave. But now, there is a strange and unsettling quiet. He is not with them in the same constant, daily way he was before. They are in a state of suspension, an uncomfortable limbo between a past that is irrevocably gone and a future that has not yet been defined. They are men caught between memory and command. They have the memory of his life, and they have the Great Commission to go into all the world. But the bridge between those 2 points feels impossibly long. Think of the disorientation. For 3 years, their lives had a singular focus. Every day was dictated by his presence, his teaching, his direction. He would say, "We are going to this town," and they would go. He would say, "Let us cross to the other side of the lake," and they would get into the boat. Their purpose was tethered directly to his physical proximity. Now that anchor is gone. They are back in Galilee, the place where it all began. This is not a coincidence. Galilee was the land of their beginnings, the place of their first hope, their first calling. It was here that Jesus had first walked along the shore and called out to a group of fishermen, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Now, they have returned to that same place, but the clarity of that initial call is clouded by the confusion of all that has transpired. And at the center of this confused and waiting group is Simon Peter. We must not, underestimate the weight that was on this man's shoulders. He was not just another disciple. He was the acknowledged leader, the rock. He was the one who was always first to speak, first to act, first to step out of the boat. His passion was his greatest strength, and, as he had so recently discovered, his most profound weakness. He is now a man living in the echo of his own voice. He can surely hear his bold declaration ringing in his ears. "Even if all fall away on account of you, I never will." He can hear himself promising, "I will lay down my life for you." And then he can hear the haunting sound of his own lies, the 3 denials that came so easily and so quickly in a courtyard of fear. The memory of that night is not just a mistake. It is a fundamental crisis of identity. If he is not the bold, unwavering follower he claimed to be, then who is he? The other disciples had scattered, but Peter had denied. His was a public, verbal, and direct betrayal of his own deepest conviction and his dearest friend. The shame of that moment must have been a constant companion, a shadow from which he could not escape. He had been specifically restored in a private meeting with Jesus, we are told. But the public nature of his leadership role was still in ruins. So here they are, 7 of them, gathered by the Sea of Galilee. The air is thick with unspoken questions. What do we do now? Where do we go from here? The grand mission feels abstract and distant, while the need to simply do something, anything, feels urgent and overwhelming. They are waiting for a plan, for direction, for a voice to break the silence. And into that silence, Simon Peter speaks. But what he says is incredibly revealing. He does not say, "Let us organize a new preaching tour." He does not say, "Let us review the teachings and make a plan." He says something far more basic, something that speaks volumes about his state of mind. He looks at the familiar water, the boats, the nets, and he says, "I am going out to fish." This is not a statement of recreation. This is a statement of reversion. It is a retreat into the familiar, a return to the one thing he knows he can do. When the future is terrifyingly unclear, we often cling to the comfort of our past. Peter is not just going fishing. He is going back to being a fisherman. He is returning to his old identity because his new identity, the one of Peter the Rock, feels like a fraud. He is tired of the confusion, tired of the waiting, and tired of the shame. He is going back to the man he was before he ever met Jesus of Nazareth. And the others, just as rudderless and uncertain, immediately latch onto his decision. "We'll go with you," they say. There is a sense of relief in their response. Finally, a plan. It may not be the grand, world-changing plan they were promised, but it is something tangible. It is work for their hands and a focus for their minds. It is an escape from the heavy burden of their calling. So they went out and got into the boat, pushing away from the shore of their uncertain future and out into the comforting darkness of their past. The narrative tells us that they fished all night, but that night they caught nothing. This detail is absolutely crucial. It is not just a report on their lack of success. It is a profound spiritual statement. They have returned to their old life, their old skills, their old profession, and it is utterly fruitless. The very thing they retreated to for a sense of purpose and competence yields nothing. Imagine the scene. The long hours of methodical work, the casting of the nets, the mending, the waiting, the familiar rocking of the boat, the chill of the night air. And with every empty pull of the net, a growing sense of frustration and perhaps even despair. The one thing they thought they could still do, the one area of their expertise, has failed them. Their own efforts, their own strength, their own plans amount to a complete and total void. This long, dark, and empty night is a perfect metaphor for a life lived apart from the divine call. It is a picture of human effort expended without divine blessing. Peter tried to go back, but the story is making it clear. There is no going back. The old life, the old identity, is no longer a viable option. It is empty. It is over. The nets of his past will no longer fill. He cannot be just a fisherman anymore. This is a critical lesson. Often, when we feel we have failed in our spiritual walk, our first instinct is to do what Peter did. we retreat to what is comfortable. We go back to old habits, old careers, old ways of thinking, believing we can find our identity there again. But God, in His grace, often shows us the emptiness of that retreat. He allows our nets to come up empty to remind us that our true purpose and provision are no longer found in that old life. The failure of their fishing expedition was not a punishment, it was a preparation. It was designed to empty them of their self-reliance so they could be ready for a new encounter. As the first light of dawn begins to break the darkness, a figure appears on the shore. The disciples, weary and dejected from their fruitless night, do not recognize him. The text says, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. There is a distance, about 100 yards, and the morning mist likely obscures their vision. But the lack of recognition is also spiritual. They are so focused on their own failure and exhaustion that they cannot perceive His presence, even when it is right there. The figure calls out to them with a common, almost casual greeting used for working men. "Friends, haven't you any fish?" The question is almost painfully ironic. He knows full well they have nothing. The question is designed to make them confront and admit their failure. It is one thing to know you have failed. It is another thing to say it out loud. Their response is a short, sharp, and defeated "no." One word that encapsulates the entire night of empty effort. Then, the stranger on the shore gives a very specific and, frankly, illogical command. "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." Now, to a group of professional fishermen, this must have sounded like nonsense. Fish do not just hang out on one side of a boat. These men knew this lake like the back of their hands. They knew the currents, the depths, the best spots for fishing. They had been working this very water all night with their sophisticated drag nets and had found nothing. What is the difference between the left side of the boat and the right side of the boat? In purely practical terms, nothing. But in spiritual terms, the difference is everything. The difference is obedience. It is the willingness to trust a command that makes no logical sense, based solely on the authority of the one who speaks it. It is the same test they faced 3 years earlier when Jesus, a carpenter, told them, professional fishermen, how to fish after a similarly fruitless night. We do not know if Peter remembered that first encounter, but something compels them to obey. Perhaps it is desperation. Perhaps it is a flicker of hope. Perhaps there is something in the stranger's voice that carries an echo of authority. Whatever the reason, they do it. They haul the heavy, empty net back into the boat, drag it across to the other side, and cast it into the water exactly where the stranger told them to. The result is immediate and overwhelming. The net is so full of fish that they cannot even haul it into the boat. The weight of the catch is so immense, so supernatural, that it nearly sinks them. In one moment, their night of total failure is transformed into an abundance beyond their wildest comprehension. The emptiness is replaced with an impossible fullness. Their human effort produced nothing, but one act of simple obedience to His word produced a harvest so great they could not contain it. This miracle is a bookend. It mirrors the first miracle that sealed their calling, and it now serves to preface their recommissioning. It is a powerful, tangible reminder of a fundamental truth. Apart from me, you can do nothing. They had spent a whole night proving that principle, and now, in a single moment, He demonstrates the glorious alternative. With me, all things are possible. The abundance was not in their skill or in the location, it was in His word. In the midst of this chaotic and miraculous moment, as the disciples struggle with the sheer weight of the fish, one of them has a moment of stunning clarity. It is John. The Gospel refers to him as the disciple whom Jesus loved, and he is often depicted as the one with the keenest spiritual perception. While Peter is a man of action, John is a man of insight. He sees past the fish, past the miracle itself, and recognizes the author of it. He looks from the straining net to the figure on the shore, and the pieces click into place. The familiar command, the impossible result. This had happened before. He turns to Peter, who is likely tangled in ropes and overwhelmed by the spectacle, and he says two of the most powerful words in the entire Gospel: "It is the Lord." That is the turning point. That one sentence from John cuts through all the confusion, all the exhaustion, all the dejection of the past night. It reframes everything. The stranger on the shore is not a stranger. The miraculous catch of fish is not a random stroke of luck. It is him. He has come to them. He has found them in the midst of their failure and their retreat into the past. And Peter's reaction is pure, unadulterated Peter. The moment he hears John's words, he does not hesitate for a second. The text says, "He wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water." This action is wonderfully impulsive and seemingly contradictory. He gets dressed to get wet. Why? Because to stand in the presence of the Lord in a state of undress would have been a sign of disrespect. In a single frantic motion, he prepares himself and then hurls himself into the sea. He cannot wait for the boat to slowly drag the heavy net to shore. He cannot wait for the others. He has to get to Jesus. This is the same man who, just weeks before, had denied even knowing him out of fear. Now, the mere recognition of his presence compels him to abandon the miracle, abandon his fellow workers, and swim the 100 yards to shore. His failure has not extinguished his passion. It has only deepened his desperation for reunion. While Peter swims, the other disciples follow in the boat, towing the net full of fish. They are the practical ones, securing the blessing while Peter seeks the blesser. Both actions are necessary, but Peter's reveals the raw state of his heart. He is no longer interested in the fish. He is only interested in the one who provided them. This is a beautiful picture of repentance. It is an impulsive, desperate, and undignified rush back to the source of grace. When they all finally reach the shore, what they find is a scene of profound and gentle intimacy. Jesus has already prepared a meal. They saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. He is not waiting for their catch to provide the breakfast. He has already provided. He is not there to scold them for their fruitless night or for their decision to go fishing. He is there to serve them. He is the host, welcoming them back from their wearying journey into self-reliance. Then he says, "Bring some of the fish you have just caught." This is significant. He invites them to contribute their catch to the meal he has already prepared. It is a gesture of partnership. He does not need their fish, but he wants to include their act of obedience in the final celebration. He dignifies their labor by allowing it to be part of his provision. Simon Peter, dripping wet and full of emotion, goes and helps drag the massive net ashore. It is full of 153 large fish, and despite the immense number, the net was not torn, a symbol of how God's blessing, when received in obedience, does not break us. It is contained. Then comes the simple, gracious invitation. Come and have breakfast. No one dared ask him, "Who are you?" because they knew it was the Lord. The awe of his presence silences all questions. He then takes the bread and gives it to them, and does the same with the fish. The risen Lord, the King of Kings, is on a beach at dawn, cooking breakfast for a group of failed fishermen. This is not a scene of judgment. It is a scene of overwhelming, unconditional grace. Notice the setting. The meal is centered around a fire of burning coals. The original Greek word used here, anthrakia, is used only one other time in the entire New Testament. Where? In the courtyard, where Peter stood to warm himself on the night he denied Jesus 3 times. This is not a coincidence. John, the author, is a master of literary detail. He is deliberately and brilliantly setting the stage. Jesus has recreated the scene of Peter's greatest failure. The smell of the charcoal fire, the flickering light, the chill in the air. It is all designed to bring that painful memory to the surface. But this time, the fire is not a place of denial, but of restoration. It is not a place of fear, but of fellowship. Jesus is about to redeem the very memory that has been haunting Peter. He is taking the trauma and transforming it into a triumph. He is confronting the past not to shame Peter, but to heal him. When they had finished eating, the casual atmosphere of the meal shifts. The moment of reckoning has arrived. But it is not a reckoning of wrath. It is a reckoning of love. Jesus turns his full attention to Peter, and the public, corporate breakfast becomes an intensely personal and private conversation, held in the presence of the others. The leader who failed publicly must now be restored publicly. Jesus asks a question. Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Stop and feel the weight of that question. Simon, son of John. He does not call him Peter, the name he had given him, which meant rock. He goes back to his old name, Simon, the name he had before he was a disciple. He is essentially asking, Simon, the man of natural impulse and weakness, let's talk. And the question itself is piercing. Do you love me more than these? What does these refer to? It could be the other disciples. Do you love me more than you love your friends? It could be the fish, the nets, the boat, the tools of his old life. Do you love me more than this career you tried to return to? But most likely, given Peter's earlier boast, even if all fall away, I never will. Jesus is asking, Peter, do you still claim to love me more than these other disciples do? Are you still the man of the grand boast? Jesus is gently forcing Peter to confront the memory of his own pride. Before, Peter's love was a matter of public comparison and confident self-assessment. He believed he was the most loyal, the most devoted. Now, that confidence is shattered. He can no longer make that claim. Now we come to the most critical and often misunderstood part of this exchange. In the original Greek, the language in which this was written, there are different words for love. 2 are used here. When Jesus asks, "Do you love me?" he uses the word agape. This is the highest form of love. It is a selfless, sacrificial, unconditional love. It is God's kind of love. It is a love of the will, a choice to value and serve another. Peter's response is heartbreakingly honest. He says, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." But when Peter says love, he uses a different Greek word, phileo. Phileo is a brotherly love, a deep affection and friendship. It is a love of the emotions. It is a genuine and warm love. But it is a human love, with all its potential for inconsistency and failure. So the conversation is actually this: Jesus, Simon, do you love me with a divine, unconditional, agape love? Peter, Lord, you know everything. You know my heart. You know I love you as a dear friend, with a human, phileo love. Peter can no longer claim the higher love. His failure has taught him the limits of his own strength. He answers with humility and appeals not to his own feelings, but to Jesus' omniscience. You know. He is essentially saying, I can't make grand promises anymore, but you know my heart. You know that despite my failure, my affection for you is real. After this first exchange, Jesus gives him a commission: feed my lambs. He takes Peter's humble confession of love and immediately gives him a responsibility. Your love, even in its imperfect human form, is enough. I can work with that. Go and care for the youngest, the most vulnerable of my flock. Then Jesus asks a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Again, Jesus uses the high-level word, agape. He is giving Peter another chance to rise to that level. He is pressing the point. Is there any part of you left that wants to claim that perfect, unwavering love? Peter is grieved by the repetition, but his answer remains the same. He does not waver. Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Again, he responds with the more humble word, phileo. He refuses to pretend. He has learned the painful lesson of his own fallibility. He will not overpromise again. His answer is consistent, honest, and stripped of all pride. He is a broken man, but an honest one. And again, Jesus meets him at his point of honesty and gives him another commission. Take care of my sheep. The responsibility grows. First the lambs, now the whole flock. Jesus is rebuilding Peter's authority, not based on his own strength, but on his honest confession of weakness. This is a stunning reversal of how the world measures leadership. The world looks for unbreakable confidence. Jesus builds his church on a foundation of broken, honest humility. Then comes the third and final question. And this time, Jesus changes his wording. He lowers the bar to meet Peter where he is. He asks, Simon, son of John, do you love me? But this time Jesus uses Peter's word. He uses phileo. He is essentially asking, Simon, I understand you can't promise me a perfect divine love, but are you even sure about the brotherly love? Are you at least my friend? This third question devastates Peter. The text says, Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? Why was he hurt? Because the third question mirrors his three denials, one question for each denial. And because Jesus now seems to be questioning even his basic affection for him. It is as if Jesus is saying, after your denial, I have to ask, are we even friends? It forces Peter to face the full implication of his failure. Peter's response is a cry from the depths of his soul. He blurts out, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. He throws himself completely on the mercy of Jesus' perfect knowledge. He is saying, I have no evidence to offer. My actions contradict my words. My promises are worthless. The only thing I have left is that you, who can see inside my very soul, know that despite the catastrophic failure of my behavior, the core of my heart is loyal to you. It is the most profound and honest statement Peter has ever made. This is the moment of complete restoration. Peter has been emptied of pride, of self-reliance, of any claim to his own strength. He is brought to a place of total dependence on the grace and knowledge of Christ. And it is at this lowest, most humble point that Jesus gives him his final and greatest commission. Jesus says to him, feed my sheep. The threefold denial has been met with a threefold confession of love and a threefold commission of responsibility. The slate is wiped clean. The failure has been redeemed. The leader who had fallen has been reinstated not as Simon the fisherman, but as Peter the shepherd. His identity is restored, rebuilt on a new foundation not of pride, but of grace. But the conversation is not over. After restoring Peter's past and commissioning him for his future, Jesus then gives him a glimpse into the ultimate cost of that future. He says, very truly, I tell you, when you were younger you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. John, the narrator, immediately explains the meaning. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. This is a sobering prophecy. Jesus is telling Peter that the path of a shepherd is the path of a sheep. It leads to ultimate surrender. The impulsive man who always did what he wanted would one day surrender his own will completely. The man who dressed himself to jump in the sea will one day be dressed by others and led to a place of ultimate sacrifice. It is a prediction of a difficult end, but it is framed not as a tragedy, but as a moment of glory. Peter's end would be the final, ultimate proof of his love. He who had once failed in a moment of testing would one day pass the ultimate test with flying colors. This prophecy is a profound gift. It assures Peter that despite his past cowardice, his future will be marked by ultimate courage. The man who failed so spectacularly will finish his race magnificently. Jesus is not just forgiving Peter's past, he is guaranteeing his future. He is showing him the end of his story, and it is a story of heroic faithfulness. And after delivering this intense, life-altering prophecy, Jesus distills everything down to two simple words. The very same words he spoke to Peter on this same shoreline 3 years before. He looks at the restored, recommissioned, and redeemed fisherman and says, "Follow me." It is a new beginning. The call is the same, but the man is different. The first time he followed with self-confident pride. Now he will follow with broken, humble, and grace-dependent love. The real journey starts now. What happens next is so human, so relatable, that it serves as one of the most important lessons in the entire chapter. Peter, having just received this incredibly personal and profound calling, immediately does what so many of us do. He takes his eyes off Jesus and puts them on someone else. He turns around and sees John, the beloved disciple, following them. And Peter asks Jesus a question born of comparison and curiosity. "Lord, what about him?" It is a question we ask every day in 1,000 different ways. What about my coworker who got the promotion? What about my neighbor whose life seems so much easier? What about him? What's his story going to be? Is his ending going to be as hard as mine? Jesus' response is a swift and loving course correction. He replies, "If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You must follow me." This is one of the most liberating and convicting statements in all of Scripture. Jesus essentially says, his story is not your concern. His path is designed by me for him. Your path is designed by me for you. Stop comparing. Stop worrying about his journey. You have one assignment and one assignment only. You follow me. In that moment, Jesus frees Peter from the crippling burden of comparison. Peter's calling was to be a public leader, a shepherd whose life would end in a dramatic act of service. John's calling was different. His life would be long, and his primary contribution would be one of quiet reflection, culminating in the writing of this very gospel, the book of Revelation, and his letters. Both callings were essential. Both were glorious. But they were not the same. If Peter had spent his life wondering why his path was different from John's, he would have been paralyzed by distraction. This is the final piece of Peter's restoration. First, his past failure is redeemed. Second, his future purpose is defined. And third, his present focus is clarified. Stop looking sideways. Look ahead. Follow the path I have set for you. Your journey is unique. Your purpose is tailor-made. The grace I have for you is sufficient for the challenges I have assigned to you. What I do in someone else's life is my business. What is that to you? You follow me. And so the story ends. It ends with Peter, the restored shepherd, walking behind his Lord, finally and forever cured of his need to boast, to compare, or to rely on his own strength. He is a man made new, not by his power, but by a conversation on a beach. He is a testament to the truth that our greatest failures are never the final word. Our deepest shame is never beyond the reach of grace. So, what does this ancient story, this breakfast on a misty Galilean shore, mean for you today? It means that your past does not have the power to disqualify you from your future. Perhaps you, like Peter, are living in the echo of a past failure, a moment of weakness, a word you wish you could take back, a promise you failed to keep. You feel the shame of it, and it has caused you to retreat, to go back to your own version of fishing, believing you are no longer qualified to do anything great. This chapter tells you that the Lord is not waiting for you to fix yourself. He is actively seeking you out. He comes to you in the midst of your fruitless efforts, in the darkness before the dawn, and stands on the shore of your life. He is not there to condemn you, but to commune with you. He is building a fire and preparing a meal, ready to turn the scene of your greatest failure into the site of your deepest healing. He will ask you the hard questions. He will ask you about your love, your devotion, not to shame you, but to bring you to a place of honest humility. He wants you to stop pretending, to stop making promises you cannot keep in your own strength, and to simply fall back on his knowledge of your heart. He wants you to get to the point where all you can say is, "Lord, you know all things. You know my heart." And when you reach that place of total honesty, he will not discard you. He will recommission you. He will look at you in your brokenness and say, "Feed my lambs." He will give you a purpose that is born not out of your perfection, but out of his grace. Your greatest ministry will often come directly from the area of your greatest failure, because it is there that you have most profoundly experienced his mercy. Finally, he calls you to a singular focus. He sees your tendency to look at the lives of others, to compare your journey, your struggles, your blessings against theirs. And he says to you today, with the same gentle firmness he used with Peter, "What is that to you? You follow me." Your story is not their story. Your race is not their race. Free yourself from the burden of comparison and embrace the unique, tailor-made path he has for you. John chapter 21 is more than an epilogue. It is a promise. It is the promise that failure is never final. It is the promise that the one who calls you is also the one who restores you, recommissions you, and will faithfully lead you all the way to the end. The story of Peter did not end in a courtyard of denial. It began anew on a beach of grace. And your story, no matter what your past holds, can begin anew today as well. All he asks is that you listen for his two simple, life-changing words: "Follow me."